So, even with the huge amounts of resistance the Dutch government has faced with farmers' protests against the attempts to basically destroy their entire way of life and inform a form of climate communism, I think that's a brilliant term, by buying them out or forcefully buying out 500 to 600 farmers' land. Why would they do this? Why would the government want to do this? They're claiming it's in relation to climate change, but we all know that it's bullshit. In fact, humans contribute very, very little to the climate here. Pollution, no doubt, is an issue, and destroying our own habitat so we make it unlivable is more of an issue, but actually for changing the temperature on this planet, I mean, if you look at Peter Clack on Twitter, he has a very, very interesting perspective on this, and I'd highly advise you check it out if you haven't already. Read what he has to say, especially what he has to say about oil and how it could be kind of renewable. Now, I just came across this idea recently, and for some reason, intuitively, I'm like, well, yeah, that could make sense, because I have no doubt in my mind that the powers that our enemies would deliberately create the idea of scarcity on a resource that could actually be hugely abundant, because they have to keep control of people, because if they don't and we are allowed to flourish, then they will lose their control and power, and psychopaths never want to do that. However, we could be so close to having a more free and harmonious and abundant world, it could just be a few decades away. Who knows how close it be or how far it is away. But with knowledge like this and with perspectives like this, it removes a lot of the fear, and it destroys their programming that they're trying to put out there of the climate change bullshit, because that's clearly a long-term running agenda that our enemies are trying to put out there. And so we have to, in any way we can, stand with the Dutch people. Even just sharing their story is something, right? But if they're actually on the continent, I imagine that many people will rally around these farmers like they have done in the past, like just recently with the huge protests, and not allow this to happen. So solidarity with the Dutch people and the Dutch farmers that are taking a stand here and will continue to fight for their rights to farm the damn land. I mean, we just look at communist regimes in the past, and look what happened in China when Mao targeted the farmers, or look what happened in like Eastern Europe when the farmers were targeted there, the most highest producing farmers, and then the Holodomor. And it always seems to be followed by huge amounts of human death when the farmers are targeted. So check out what the articles have to say. You can post some links there and you can read for yourself what the Dutch government's trying to do, and hopefully you can see why I'm bringing attention to it as something that we need to raise awareness on.